How did a former American pro baseball player and an African Fulbright scholar create a business around an ancient fruit that's helping people on 2 continents? Let's find out in this amazing interview with one of the co-founders of Tiiga, Jeff Tezak. Enjoy!
So, Jeff, I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon. You're somebody I've been crossing paths with for like the last couple of years, so I feel like I really know you well. And I'm so glad that you said yes to the podcast. But I want other people to know a little bit about you. So, like people who have clicked on this link to listen to the podcast, they've seen your picture and know what you look like. But tell us where you came from, where'd you grow up, where are you from?
My dad was in the Air Force, and so he ended up retiring in San Diego. And then I lived there from 2 to the end of high school. And then from then, it's been pretty much travel ever since. So I started out at Cal State Northridge in Los Angeles in the Big West Conference. And it was a great opportunity for me to play Division I baseball. So I took it, played there for a year and a half. So I ended up actually transferring halfway through my sophomore year. And then I came back down to San Diego and played at a junior college called Palomar College. I did all right there. And then that actually led me to an opportunity to get recruited by Nebraska. Long story short, instead of actually going my junior fall to Nebraska, I had to wait and stay back. And then I ended up only going to Nebraska that January of my junior year. It's definitely a sink or swim situation. And so went in and literally started playing the baseball season right then. And so finished up my college career at Nebraska. And then I was lucky enough to get drafted by the Chicago White Sox in the 24th round. I think that was 2009. Man, I don't even remember the year now. But it was a pretty great experience. So yeah, I was able to spend 2 summers playing professional baseball after that.
That is amazing. So, I mean, what does it take to be a professional baseball player though? Because it just seems like those are special guys. I mean, you got somebody throwing something at you at 100 miles an hour. What does it take?
I think there's a lot of different levels and types of players. I think it's just about like everything else in life. I was what I would call a average player in the sense that I was good at most of the things, but I wasn't great at any of them. And so in professional baseball, what you really see are the people that are just like extremely good at things. And those are the ones that you can kind of tell have a really good chance of making to the major league. If you're a good player, you can usually kind of make it through a couple of years of the minors, maybe get almost to the major leagues, maybe even touch the major leagues. But it's those guys that really have something that stands out, whether they throw really hard, hit it really far, run really fast. It's just something that really makes them stand out, that puts them at that next level. And that was a really great experience to kind of know like where you stood. If you look around and if you're realistic, you realize pretty quick, you're like, I don't look like him and I don't do what he does. It helped me have a realistic perspective, but it also helped me push myself because despite maybe not having those things, it was an opportunity to try to prove that you could do it without those. So
That's really impressive. I mean, I'm still super impressed with all that you achieved though, because I'm sure like only a fraction of a percent of people even can do what you do.
yeah, well, I appreciate that, Gene. You don't think about it when you're in it. It is an interesting process when people talk about it. And to know that it's like 1% at each time. So 1% of high school plays college, 1% of college plays professional. It's interesting when we start these businesses, and I know we'll get into tech a little bit, but like 1%, it seems small, but really like if you put in the effort, it seems to be, you can find your way into that 1% a lot of times.
Yeah, that's very well said. And, as a segue, that high level of athletics and the physicality required, does that have anything to do with your development of your product, Tiiga? Maybe you could answer and then tell us more about your e-commerce product in your company.
It's a great question. I've always been conscious of nutrition, Gatorade in the dugout, especially like you always questioned whether you really wanted to drink it, especially as a baseball player. So like we don't run a lot in baseball. And so I always struggled drinking a high sugar beverage versus the actual electrolytes. So it was always there. It kind of got me to thinking what I had been actually looking for was something that was real or actually had nutrients from a fruit itself to provide the energy without the calories. And so that was kind of what led us to the creation of Tiiga. We really wanted to provide that value for the minimal amount of calories.
So how did that happen? Your roommate, Haruna, where's he from? How did he become the co-founder? How did you become the co-founder? What happened there that built this thing?
So I had lived overseas after playing professional baseball until about 2015. And when I moved back, I met Haruna in one of my first classes. And so we had become pretty good friends right away, kind of hit it off, and then stayed friends while I was coaching baseball at the university and going to grad school. He introduced me to the Baobab fruit in a drink, Baobab milk and honey. And he's like, hey, I know you're studying a lot. Try this instead of caffeine. It gives you a nice energy. And I was like, what is this? And that was the first time we tried it. It was really good. So Haruna's from Burkina Faso in West Africa. But he just said there weren't a lot of opportunities. And the Baobab fruit grows naturally. A lot of times it falls to the ground and goes to waste. That's kind of where it started. And then we kind of put our heads together and I was like, let's create an electrolyte drink combining the Baobab fruit. And then let's make sure that we're buying the product from African harvesters. It's ended up being in Zimbabwe right now and South Africa. And eventually, hopefully we'll be able to do West Africa as well. But the idea was to be able to buy product from them to be able to then enhance it here and then sell it to the US consumer.
That is amazing. I mean, you guys developed something based on something that you found nutritious that was not causing detrimental health issues. And out of this all seems to come an industry that's giving people money to live.
Yes. I mean, short answer is yes. The idea to be able to build something where you provide something that we feel good about selling, we drink it a ton ourselves. And then on the reverse end, the best part is the more we sell, the more we got to buy from harvesters, meaning the more money they make. To me, that's the ultimate win-win when we try to do something like this.
I'm actually a customer of your product, Jeff. I've consumed a lot of it. I mean, it tastes so good. And as I read up on it, it seems like there's this fruit that grows on this tree, this really tall tree in Africa, the baobab tree, like you said. The fruit is harvested and then it's dried and pulverized or something and turned into a powder.
So this is the biggest misconception with the product. It's been fun to try to explain this. This is our kind of our mission over the next few years. So the baobab fruit on the baobab tree actually ripens or dries out during the dry season, and it's actually harvested with a dried pulp. What happens is when they crack the hard shell open, it's not some moist fruit. It's actually already powder inside the fruit. So all they do is take that powder and then they seethe it down into a finer powder. It has an extremely long shelf life. So it has 3 to 5 year shelf life just on its own, just based on the fact that it's already a powder, which creates a unique opportunity because one, from a shipping standpoint, it makes it really easy to ship, but two, it provides a nutrient value that you don't get in other products as well. So if you probably noticed from drinking it, there's like a sustainable energy. You kind of feel like you absorb the nutrients better. It's because it hasn't been pasteurized. It's the raw fruit that you're able to consume, meaning there's more bioavailable than say something that's been processed before.
Yeah, it's like the effect I felt when I was drinking it. You add water to it and you've got these different flavors that you have created. I would feel like I wasn't hungry.
Yeah, well, that's the natural fiber from the fruit. So the fruit is about 50% fiber, both soluble and insoluble fiber, as well as it has a large amount of potassium, magnesium, a little bit of calcium, decent amount of vitamin C, and then it has a really high amount of antioxidants. And I think those all kind of play together, but especially the fiber. But in general, what happens is the fiber slows down the release of the glucose into your bloodstream, meaning that your energy doesn't spike as quickly or it stays more level as it goes up and then comes back down. But it also means that you're usually fuller because it's absorbing the water in your stomach. It's a pretty unique opportunity to consume a natural product, but also get those other benefits.
That's really cool. So like I just saw on your website today as I was looking, you have strawberry now. How do you get flavors like strawberry out of this fruit that is just like dried and then broken down into a powder? How does it become strawberry in Nebraska?
This is the product development side. So the baobab fruit's natural flavor is a little citrusy, almost like a citrus sherbet without the sweetness. It's a really low amount of sugar. So if you can imagine 50% fiber, 20% sugar. Eventually we'll come out with a baobab flavor as the main flavor. But what we do in Tiiga is we try to take the fruit, combine it with an electrolyte blend, and then we try to use a little bit of sugar. One, sugar creates a mouthfeel, but two, sugar actually helps with the absorption of electrolytes. And so it's not actually from a sweetness standpoint in the product. And so when people see the product, they see there's a little bit of sugar and they wonder why we put it in there. And it's mainly just for the electrolyte absorption. So we use stevia, which is a natural sweetener. We want it to be a nice, light, balanced taste. And then we want to flavor it. So we use natural flavors. because it is a natural product. So it's not like we're just making everything in the lab. We're trying to combine that natural product with whatever we want to put with it. So some flavors just don't work, right? Whereas other ones really, really work well.
Why don't we know more about this? Why did it take you and Haruna to bring it here?
Honestly, I don't know. It's been used for thousands of years. I mean, every part of the tree has been used. Literally, the first time I had heard about the fruit was from Haruna as well, despite it being, in The Lion King, right? Literally, Rafiki, the stuff that he rubs on Simba is Baobab fruit. And so we all know it, but we never heard anything about it. And I honestly have no idea why. It hasn't gotten, I would say, roughly commercialized, or there hasn't found a good application for it. I don't think, I think 10, 20 years ago, everybody's looking to put stuff into a ready to drink product, or they were trying to put it into, I don't know. So long story short is it's been sold as a commodity for a few years, meaning that you could just buy the fruit powder, the pulp by itself. But, for us, the big thing was to enhance it, to make it so it's easier to consume, tastes a little bit better, and just easy to use. And so, like I said, I was just as dumbfounded 5 years ago when he introduced me to the fruit as you are.
That was a revelation to me because I know when I was younger, my father lived in Africa. We were with him for a brief period of time. And I would have been really interested to have heard about this growing up. I'm glad I found it because just like you said, it's so good. It's so natural. And I realized just how I had become so accustomed to like sugary drinks, even Gatorade. When I try this, you just feel like a healthful influence. So I really recommend it highly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we always want to reiterate that it does taste good, even though it's healthier. But it's a nice, unique taste, and it's lighter. I think more products are becoming like this, where more people are looking for lower calorie drinks versus sodas versus, sports drinks. And then they're also looking for less sweet. And I hope the American palate can get to where that becomes like the norm.
That's what I appreciate too, because even though maybe you get a great exhilaration drinking something so laden with sugar, I mean, afterwards, the effect and the crash that you have physically or mentally is sometimes not worth it. I mean, I see a big value there. Where else do you see value with this? Is it for athletes? Is it for older people? Is it for people that have certain medical conditions too? Where is the big impact?
Yeah, so we can't go as far as medical conditions for sure. I would love to, but obviously we'd have to do some scientific studies on that. That being said, you could play with it and use it at any sport, and I would highly recommend it, especially over your Gatorades, your Powerades, things like that. Just based on the fact that you're going to get the same electrolytes as those products, but you're going to have a lot less sugar. It's going to be a natural fruit as the main ingredient. Where we kind of sit is a few different things. Since it's low calorie, it's a really nice water replacement. Another one is since the baobab is 3 grams of fiber per serving in our products, what that does is it's actually a good source of fiber, meaning that it can satiate you like you felt, so it can keep you full and essentially help you from a blood sugar standpoint, meaning that like you were talking about sugar spiking you and then crashing you, that's your blood sugar going up and then going back down. So it can actually help dissipate that over time because of that fiber. I like to drink it, especially after coffee or after anything that was remotely sugary or a big carbohydrate meal. It's actually really nice then because that's right when you're about to go up and then right back down. So it kind of helps balance out a little bit. And then I use it honestly for short workouts. So like I work out for an hour. It's like the perfect drink to kind of drink during that time. Those are kind of the main ones that I recommend right now. We've had all sorts of answers for the way that people use it as alternatives. They want to have 2 Diet Cokes in a day. They're going to have 1 now by drinking a Tiiga instead. Some people literally specifically use it to go to the bathroom better, right? Like it ends up, they have better, and that sounds bad, but have better poops, right? Like fiber helps as bad as it is. And we don't try to talk about fiber from the sense of like drink fiber just to go to the bathroom. Fiber doesn't do that. Fiber just, it's going to help your poop. It's going to create more, it sounds messed up, but surface area. So it just ends up being a more quality and bathroom experience. And it's a really good thing as you hydrate more, your gut feels better in general, but also just the regularity that you go to the bathroom is better as well.
I like the way you said it, the high quality bathroom experience. That should be on the package. Give us the benefit to this family who has a family member helping harvest these things that are coming your way. What's the benefit as more things are being sold?
First and foremost, where we obtain the fruit from is either South Africa or Zimbabwe right now. And so what happens is those are harvested by local communities. No one owns the tree. It's communally harvested and then the community gets paid out. Just in Zimbabwe, there's about 2,000 to 4,000 harvesters, depending on the harvest that year. And they usually have a few kids or a few family members in that family, meaning that they're supplementing a large amount of their income. So it could be up to 10,000, up to 40,000 people that are potentially being affected. And in general, there was a study done where there was subsistence farming more or less, but their income was $100 a year. And then they would make an extra $40 off baobab harvesting. And this was just like in 2021. So the potential for them to make a lot more money off of baobab and to spend that money on specific things, like they spend it on school, they spend it on groceries, and they spend it on school stationery. So it's a big deal. We have worked with an organization in Zimbabwe to donate money for them to plant trees. So the seedlings for trees, and then to make sure that those maintain over the years to come. And then in West Africa right now, we're not getting the harvest from West Africa at the moment. I foresee that shortly. But what Harrouna is doing is he's working with his university students. He's working with specific youth families where he actually makes sure that they've planted a tree. They make sure that that tree survives. And then he's paying for their school lunches throughout the year through a small donation from Tiiga as well. And so these are still very small scale in the sense of what we're spending as well as what we're capable of doing. But the goal is obviously to incrementally grow these a lot bigger. And the bigger that we get, or the more people that try Baobab, the more people that try Tiiga, the better chances are that we can implement more and more of what we're trying to do.
Going on to year 3 that I've known you, Jeff, it's like you always are concerned about those families harvesting. So I that's what really makes me happy to have you on this podcast, especially because so many businesses are just focused on their bottom line, but you're like, yeah, I want to grow this bottom line so I can give more back.
We've talked about this a few times. The CPG or consumer packaged goods space is a difficult space because there are a lot of products. There's probably too many products for what the world needs, right? But what makes it a lot easier for us is that by having something that we're trying to grow to open up opportunities for people, it makes it a lot easier to do every day. At the end of the day, for us, it's a win-win. The more people that we sell the product to or that learn about it and buy the product, the more opportunity we can buy product from them. And so for me, it's the ultimate because we don't have to try to say, hey, we're going to go give something away, right? Like Harrouna was adamant when we started this, that it was about making sure to hold something responsible, hold somebody, something, some situation, some other company, whatever it is, kind of hold them responsible, meaning that we're not just giving something away, right? It's like, we want to help. We want to enhance your situation, whatever that may be. But we want to make sure that we do it to where you're going to fulfill some part of that as well. It's not easy, I would say, but it's very strategic in how we're trying to do this. That way we can really focus on paying people for the services that they do.
When you guys are standing next to Harrouna, it's such a nice picture. You guys are the Americans like myself, and then you have this African scholar there. He always looks so dignified. Like, what's his deal? Is he like a genius or what?
He's my wise mentor. Yeah, he got his PhD in history from the University of Nebraska. He was a Fulbright scholar. He speaks like, I don't know how many, 5 languages probably. He speaks native Moray, French, English. I think he probably has 1 or 2 more languages that he also knows. And he still corrects all my English when I do write something. So he's an extremely wise person. He's been able to live, for an extended period of time in multiple cultures. And so he kind of takes the best from each. Back home, he's responsible for a lot of people. We built this together, started it together. And so we really want to make sure to give him the best opportunities with his family as well, because he has spent so much time away from them. And he's, like I said, helping such a large extended family as well.
That also intrigued me when I first learned about you in 2020, Jeff. I mean, it's like you don't see your everyday all-American guy with this African guy. That speaks a lot to both of you being open-minded, I think, and then actually roommates for a while.
I'm really excited that he didn't just leave in 2020 and that was the end of it. I'm really glad that we started this because it's given us an opportunity to stay connected, being across the world, right? And then to really shoot for something down the road where we can spend a lot more time together.
I'm glad that we're getting this story out. I mean, it's like your story's on the internet, but to hear you actually talk about it is so rewarding. So what are the things that you want people to know about Tiiga, its website, drinktiiga.com? What do you want to leave with us?
We created Tiiga to benefit both Americans from a nutritional standpoint and then Africans from an economic opportunity standpoint. And so the idea was to connect cultures. And I think we're only starting to do that. Our ultimate goal, I really believe, is accomplishable. I see it through something as crazy as, a fruit, right? You never imagine that a fruit can connect this much. Something as powerful as a tree like the Baobab tree that's been around for thousands of years helps hundreds of millions of people survive with all the parts of it. It's kind of got this magic to it. And so I just think, you don't randomly become really good friends with people from halfway around the world. You don't randomly decide to start a business without something bigger there. And so I'm excited to see where it goes. That's why we've connected with you guys in Protect. It's more than just about selling a product. It's about trying to have a win-win for everybody.
That's a good statement there, Jeff, to end on. And we're going to look for Tiiga. Can you spell it out too? Because I know individuals may be assuming it's spelled one way, but to get to the website, can you spell out what they need to type in their browser?
Yeah, so it's Drink Tiiga, Tiiga. And then I guess for anybody that wasn't aware, because I guess I didn't present that, Tiiga means the tree or the tree of life, which is what the Baobab tree is known as in Africa.
Wow. All right. I think you can't get any higher than that. So we're going to sign off and we're going to get this out to everyone so they can become big supporters of your mission.
I appreciate it, Gina. I really appreciate you giving me the time to chat. And it's always great having a conversation with you.